Today was Genesis 9 through 11 and Matthew 14. In Genesis 9, God renews his blessing for humanity after the flood to be fruitful and multiply. And God makes a covenant with Noah and all living creatures, promising never to destroy the earth by flood again. And the chapter describes human fallibility when Noah becomes drunk, leading to dishonor by Ham and blessings for Shem and Japheth for their respect. So Noah was a man of the soil, I believe the term said, and he was drinking, so he had a vineyard and made wine, obviously consumed too much and passed out or whatever, passed out naked. And I guess that shows that Noah was one of the most holiest people to God, and even he was not immune from sin, and he was dishonored by his son Ham, and I guess in some aspects honored by Shem and Japheth. So Ham was the first one, it sounds like, who saw him naked, and he kind of ran out of the tents or the cave or wherever they were living, the house, and was poking fun at him, making fun of him, and told everyone to sort of come look at him. And obviously that didn't go over very well. Shem and Japheth walked backwards and covered him, which was obviously much more respectful. And the key takeaway includes God's faithfulness, the importance of respecting authority, and generational consequences of dishonor. Seeing it because then Noah cursed Canaan, which was Ham's son. So that was somewhat interesting, I guess, and I guess somewhat questioning why he didn't just curse Ham, but he didn't curse Ham. Well, he indirectly did by cursing his son Canaan, and I was kind of trying to figure out what all that meant, because in Genesis 10, the Table of Nations apparently was created or outlined by the spread of Noah's descendants. And this emphasizes the land of Canaan. So while he cursed Canaan, apparently Canaan, his descendants in line, and the land of Canaan, the Canaanites, created this huge area which ended up being the promised land. So I'm not sure the connection between Canaan was cursed, but then at the same time this was also the sought after promised land of the Canaanites. Genesis 11 is about the Tower of Babel. So the people there, I guess the best way to describe it would be, were becoming incredibly ambitious, and they were building a tower to the heavens. And God said, let's put a stop to that, pretty much, and let's go down and confuse their words, their language. So he spread them all out amongst the earth and scrambled all their languages, which obviously I imagine would make it hard to communicate and pull off these sorts of things like they were doing, becoming overly ambitious. I guess it's sort of, he had to humble them. And Abraham is introduced. The story teaches the dangers of pride, the necessity of reliance on God, and the continuation of God's redemptive plan despite human rebellion. And Matthew 4. The New Testament seems to be a little bit easier to get to comprehend and to pull things out of. So in Matthew 4, Jesus was in the wilderness fasting for 40 days and 40 nights, tempted by Satan. And I believe Jesus referred at least 3 or 4 times back to Deuteronomy when the devil, Satan, would test him, and um, like he told him to turn rocks into bread. I think he told him to jump off a cliff, pretty much, and some other things. And Jesus obviously resists that temptation. He's hungry, and afterwards, angels ministered to him. And I kind of looked up the word minister. Like, what does it mean to minister to someone? Is that just verbally? Is that like bandaging up their wounds? And I believe what I learned it could be both. It could be a little bit of everything, and that he was probably pretty rough after 40 days in the woods. So it was, I guess, I don't know if I call it a reward, but it showed that he was faithful through those 40 days, even after being tempted. And the angels came and they ministered to him. So it was not all his 40 days were not in vain. It showed that God would show for him there. There was something else in Matthew 4. I'm trying to think what it was. I think I heard this in a sermon from somebody preaching, but the devil was using scripture too. Let's see if I can find it. So they were sort of going back and forth where Jesus would quote scripture, but then Satan also would quote scripture. Satan said, if you are the Son of God, throw yourself down, for it is written, he will command his angels concerning you, and on their hands they will bear you up, lest you strike your foot against a stone. And Jesus had first brought up the scripture when Satan said, if you are the Son of God, command these stones to become loaves of bread. But he answered, it is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God. That was in Deuteronomy. And I don't, I can't really preach on the entire meaning of it, but I do know that it was, someone had said it was substantial that while we have these words, the devil had them too, and he used them to twist those words around. And I think he did this in Genesis 2 with the apple as well, and the tree and Eve. I said, surely God would not want you to not have this. So I think that was, I don't know what the message was, that they could twist the words around, or maybe people out there in the world can use these words to twist them and use them against us.